Hey everybody, Jacob with Scooters Lawn Care here in Springfield, Illinois, and today we are talking about one of the huge benefits at the dealership with some of the great lines we sell. So today we are talking about a huge discount on Echo and Skag. And this is something that we knew we had to share and give all the education out front that we can, because the opportunity to save money, especially if you're buying multiple units and different products together, is really cool, and something that we should definitely take advantage of, or you definitely should take advantage of if you can. Even more so if you're growing a company and you need a lot of equipment, this is a huge time to save. So today we're going over the fleet pricing for Echo, the fleet pricing for Skag. So there's a little more clarity on that, and you can use that to save the most money for yourself. So let's start right off with Echo. Echo has a tiered approach where you have a couple different opportunities, or I should say a few different opportunities to truly save on their fleet pricing. So the first tier is going to be a 10% discount. To qualify for this tier, you must buy at least $1,500 of qualifying equipment. Once you spend that, you get a one-time discount of that 10%. So that's the kind of ground floor entry level fleet program. Now the second and the third, these are really cool because these both run for a calendar year or the 12 months after the first purchase. So the second tier is going to be 15% off, and that is going to get you qualified for that once you spend $3,000 on equipment. And then for that remaining 12 months, you're going to still receive that 15% off on any qualified equipment purchases through Echo. Now the next step is the same, but just a higher entry fee, and that's going to be 20% off if you spend $6,000 or more on qualified equipment. And now you've got the max tier, and that's still going to run for a calendar year or 12 months after that. So a really exciting way to get what you need for the season, but then continuously save as you add to that or buy anything else throughout the season. And that fleet program is just really awesome and geared towards someone who's wanting to grow their company, right? Or even the homeowner, or the person who manages a farm or needs a lot of different equipment where they can save, and they could buy a lot of this stuff all at once so they can continue saving on this. And when you think about it, if you're buying bigger stuff like stone saws, big backpacks, you can get to those numbers fairly easily versus buying just a small weed eater or the most cost-effective unit. Now, with Echo, something I really have to say, it's a brand we love and trust and we've been using and beating the heck out of Echo equipment probably since day one of me starting a lawn care and landscape company. I think our first pair of hedge trimmers, the first pair, because I started off with a used weed eater, right, that we just had laying around. But as we started to buy equipment, some of the first hedge trimmers and equipment was Echo. And we realized out of all the different brands, Echo is what really grew for us, and we really used in-house a ton. And that's what made it make sense to bring on in-house and sell, because it's a product we've tested and we've used and abused, and we just know how great it is. So being able to use these different discounts is a really awesome way to save. Now let's get right into Skag's fleet pricing. This is something that I really like, because when you're buying big pieces of equipment, obviously the dollars, the zeros just go up and up and up and up and up. So the ability to be able to save on those is huge. Now, there's not as much of a complicated layout approach here. The one thing to know is once you get on the fleet program, you have 12 months. There's no different tiers where you don't have that to continue buying qualified pieces of equipment at a discount. And to get on that, it's typically usually 2 large pieces of equipment will get you there, or $20,000 of qualified equipment purchases will get you on the fleet program. And then this is going to save you 15% for the full calendar year afterwards. And just like Echo, Skag is another piece of equipment that we have really invested in and have seen is awesome, and we love it for homeowner use, for our field use, where we are really using and abusing and testing this equipment every day. Specifically, when we really started using this brand heavily and integrating into our fleet, we had team members that just loved all other brands and thought that they wouldn't want to use a Skag necessarily because they were comfortable, until they used one and they realized They didn't have to double cut lawns as much. It dispersed the clippings better. They were able to get more done faster, and they just loved the machinery overall. So here again, another tested brand that we love, we know works well, and what a great way to save as a growing company or someone who needs more equipment, more pieces than just one. And so these are our fleet programs that we offer through the dealership that we're super excited to let you know about, really educate you on how those work and the savings you can have. So implement these if you're buying multiple pieces of equipment, because this is going to be a great way for you to save money.